Good morning, all. Thank you for joining our call today. Sorry for being a little bit late there. We are waiting for some people to join on and had a few technical difficulties. So hopefully people can see the screen okay. So today we think we're going to have times also for questions towards the end. But if you do have any issues with seeing our screen, or you do have questions as we're going through the presentation, by all means, you can submit those using the question tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we can respond back to those as well. So I appreciate right now if somebody could perhaps just even send back a hello or a good morning, just so we could test to make sure that that's working for us. Additionally, we'll be recording today's webinar and can email it out into each of you in case you wanted to share this webinar with some of your colleagues as well. And thank you for the response back. That's great. Okay, so today, my name is John Tideman. I'm Director of Business Development here at MyHEAT. A bit about myself. I've been in the energy industry for many years, working overseas as well as up here in Canada. Most recently, I worked for a gas company by the name of Enbridge Gas Distribution in Ontario. It's got 4 million residential customers, and I led their energy efficiency programs from a sales and marketing and operational standpoint. A lot of my focus was on the residential programs, where I got introduced to MyHEAT, and the old saying goes, liked it so much I joined the company. Also with us today is Ian Maddock.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ian Maddock. I'm Vice President of Business Development for MyHEAT. I've been involved in the MyHEAT project for about 4 years. Predominantly at the board level. I was in the natural gas trading and marketing space for over 25 years, and got involved in the project through Dr. Jeffrey Hay, who is the inventor of the technology. And I've been working full-time on the project for the last year and a bit, and been heading up our business development efforts as we expand our product into North America and into parts of Europe. So I'll turn it over to John, and he can take us from here.
So today's session, we've got about an hour or so set aside for us to get through. We will be going through a bit of a presentation deck to start off with, and then we are going to plan on spending some time to walk through a couple different platforms. The customer-facing platform is really a tool the customers will see, but also the utility-facing tool, which is really some of the back-end data that utilities can use to actually help improve the response rate on some of their marketing outreach campaigns. Why we do what we do. So our solution is really unique to North America. There's no one else doing what we do, and we take a more personalized approach to helping our clients achieve their energy efficiency goals and objectives. And we tend to take energy efficiency, which tends to be somewhat of a nebulous topic for customers to understand, and we make it more tangible, more personal for customers. And how we do that through the use of thermal imaging. There's a few things that are standing in our way with our partners that we see. A lot of the utilities and municipalities that we have been talking with have really been running energy efficiency programs for many years. And the low-hanging fruit, or those opportunities that are, I'd say, most cost-effective, tend to have been gone. And so now utilities are having to drive deeper relationships with those customers. And utilities are having to introduce new and innovative approaches to garner customers' interest and to help customers better understand what they can do to help improve the efficiency of their home. We're also seeing customers who are struggling to keep up with increased fuel cost, and utility programs are competing with program funding. And of course, they're facing the increased downward pressure as a result of changing building code standards and baseline to equipment measures associated with putting cost effectiveness of many programs, residential programs, at risk. So how we can navigate these obstacles. We apply an understanding of behavioral science to our platform to empower and educate customers and nudge them towards the energy savings action. We're going to be talking about behavioral nudging a little bit more in this presentation. And we'll take every opportunity to discuss the pain points of program design with our partners within the energy efficiency community. And we use this knowledge to build innovative solutions to address common problems. We can also incorporate additional data sets, census information, internal customer data, income ratios. During my time at Enbridge, we had bought our tax roll information that gave us access to, the size of the homes, number of bedrooms, square footage, etc. And so we can incorporate any additional data sets that you may have into our partnership dashboard. And really that tool will help you identify and target specific groups and those customers who will have a higher propensity to participate in the programs that you're offering out to your clients. So customers really deal with utilities for about 10 minutes of the year, and so we use the best available technology to help customers understand really energy efficiency during those limited touch points with customers. We can personalize those experiences and motivate them towards and push them towards the specific programs that you may be offering out there in the marketplace as well. Seeing is believing, and it really is. People need to see in order to understand the problem, and that's where our solution becomes so effective. It's difficult for people to understand the complex issues that can't be physically seen. In fact, 65% of people are visual, so they need to understand or see the problem in order to solve it. Taking into energy efficiency is less daunting when a customer knows exactly where to focus their efforts on, and that's really the benefit of what our platform can do for clients and customers. We can promote incentive programs without a visual aspect can lead to lower participation rates and unengaged customers. Enhancing these experiences with personalized visuals of home heat loss lends to highly engaged customers. And we're going to run through a pilot that was completed with the city of Medicine Hat, which is a town up here in Canada, where we actually had a pilot done over 2018 where we saw fantastic results. And again, pairing visualized data with easy, accessible next steps, energy evaluation or an audit, rebate information, and then we can nudge those customers along that customer journey as well. Behavioral nudging. Programs rely on empowerment versus incentive and making them cheaper and easier to implement than other technologically oriented measures. It's a cost-effective aspect that allows you to do more with less of your energy program budget. Activities that apply behavioral nudging can include home energy reports, alerts for high energy use, customers and businesses, particularly if you have access to AMI data, and you can provide those real-time feedback on energy use in your home, and then peak usage notifications and time use pricing as well. A recent study that was completed by Carleton University identified home energy reports can save between 1 to 2.5% of fuel cost. Time use pricing, as much as a primary driver for many utilities implementing AMI, is to address the load curve, but it has also had an impact on energy reduction. An ongoing outreach approach that utilizes energy analysis and provides customers with energy alerts or feedbacks in relation to customers' energy usage data can also see reductions of up to 5.7%. It is important to note that around persistence, to continually to provide customers with that feedback. And if you do not, then customers will tend to fall back into their old behavior and patterns, and those results will dissipate over time. Just applying some of the stats in terms of energy reduction using energy reports or time use pricing. When we look at, say, the city of Minneapolis-St. Paul, but 878,000 homes in there, to give you an idea of the impact on what that would be, home energy reports could look at saving fuel costs in around 13,000 homes. Time use pricing around 26,000 homes. And then with those combined with alerts and real-time feedback, you can push that up over 50,000 homes in terms of energy savings associated with that. There are new obstacles. Political orientation can impact on how customers may respond to a home energy report. There's, again, a report done by the University of Carleton suggests home energy reports are 2 to 4 times more effective at reducing electricity usage in liberal households versus those that are politically conservatives. The same study also found that households who have donated to environmental organizations reduce their consumption by 1.1% more than those who have never donated. It's not enough just to give homeowners information about their energy use and hopefully take next steps. It needs to be paired with messaging and ideally specific measures that make sense for the customer to participate in and to identify what they can achieve and save. And then also how they may compare it to their neighbor. How we do what we do, our thermal data collection is done typically in the fall or in the spring, depending on some of the states down in the communities down in the states. We will do that collection in the spring and the fall, and then depending on snow load, we may have if there's not, we can do the data collection during planned periods when we're not expecting a lot of snow. To give you an idea, City of Calgary, which is about 600,000 homes, we can collect that city over a period of 4 to 8 nights. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll take that raw thermal data, which is the imagery on the left, and we'll buy some additional data sets, such as elevation modeling, Billy polygrammes, and then we'll produce and we'll process that through a patented algorithm to produce these heat maps and the color coding that you can see on the middle screen. From there, we'll build an online platform for our utility clients where customers can go online and actually have a look at their home. And then from there, they have an opportunity to link, and the utilities can promote any of their programs or services. Or if you have an online marketplace, you wanted to promote some of the products, we could design a solution that really allows customers to go through the complete customer journey when they're at that stage. And so here's an example of a home that we had collected, and a couple elements I want to talk about during this slide. Really, privacy has been something that has come up with many of the clients that we talk about. I'd say there's a lot more information available from customers really through the Google Street View maps. It's really a nebulous image that we do collect as well. And to give you an idea, Alberta, we've had that platform in Alberta up and running now for over 3 years and about, again, 600,000 homes. We've had a total of 12 requests to remove imagery, but we've had several hundred customers call up to say, I would also like to see my thermal image in there. So really demonstrating the power of that imagery. And we have 47 cities now collected across North America, including Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and we have not had any privacy concerns coming out of that. One additional thing I will state is just the power of the imagery itself. So the image on the left is a 4-bedroom type home, and the blue square in the middle would be your second floor, and you can see really where that home has a tremendous amount of insulation. What's interesting about the image is the red building on the right of the main building block, and that is their garage, which is uninsulated, unheated. And so you get to a point of trying to understand what is really happening and what is the opportunity that this presents for customers. And the individual who lives in that home will understand more specifically around what that opportunity is, but you can quite quickly get an idea of really what is the power of our tool. I'm going to pass over to Ian to run through the customer-facing platform as well as the utility-facing platform. Any questions coming up, Chelsea, today? Or maybe we'll pause just while Ian gets set up. If you do have any questions thus far, please feel free to put one forth.
All right, good morning again, everyone. I'll just take you a little bit of a step through our platform and how it works and how our clients are using our technology to engage with their customers. This is our landing page on our homepage of myheat.ca. And when you look here and you see the select your city, so we do have, as John alluded to earlier, we do have 2 ways that we make our platform available. One is a publicly facing platform, just as what you see here. You see the cities that are listed on there. So anybody can go in and look at any of those cities on this data set. They could look at any home in the data set. And the nice thing about having that public platform is it creates a nice friendly competition between homeowners, between neighbors, between family members on the efficiency of their home. But we do have the majority of our clients are actually on our private platform, which is the deliverable product will be still the city maps, as I'll show you here. And then our clients are using on the private placing platform, are using it to engage homeowners in a different manner by doing a direct connection with the homeowner, showing them their specific home and not showing them any other homes. So I'll just pull up the city of Calgary here, and you'll see as it starts to populate on your screen, you can see even at a high level here that there's a discrepancy in homes from dark red homes to dark green homes, and a homeowner can go in and type in their address, or you can just do the zoom in button here, and you can zoom in to click in to the city. And you can even see at a high level here, if you're taking a snapshot of these communities, you can get a good visual feel for what are the least efficient homes within these communities. The dark red homes are the ones that are the least efficient, and the dark green ones are the most efficient. Many of our clients are using the visual aspect of this to really identify homes within certain communities. Say you have an income eligible community that you want to focus and find the homes that are in the need of the most work. We can visually show those. These are all address matched and geo-referenced. So as you zoom in and you start to click on them, pick on a random home, you'll see that the address is here. So all of that information is available for our clients to be able to access to do some targeted engagement to homeowners. On the Explore My Home button here, this takes our clients to, or takes the homeowner to what's called their MyHEAT homepage. This particular page can be white labeled to look like all our clients' website. If you're a natural gas or electric utility, we can make this look like your homepage. This is all customizable. The two consistent aspects of this are the heat rating that you see on the side there. That's the MyHEAT heat rating that goes from 1 to 10. 1 is the most efficient homes in the data set, 10 would be the least efficient homes. It would show the comparison of the home to the neighborhood that they live in and then the city that they live in. We have the thermal map of the home, and then we show the Google map version as well. One, to give the homeowner sort of that orientation, okay, what's the front of my house, what's the back of my house? But as John mentioned too, it also touches on that privacy aspect of things. When you see the Google Maps version, and if we were looking at this and saw that they had a camper in their backyard, we could infer that they camp on the weekends. If they had a trampoline, we could infer that they have kids. So the point being that there's a lot more information that's publicly available on Google Maps than there is from this very benign image. This page, this part of the page here is really focused on trying to get the customer, the homeowner, directed to any programs that are available that might be able to help them with energy efficiency related products, any links to education. This particular program here was with we did have a program here with a company called Energy Efficiency Alberta, which was a government-run program, which unfortunately was taken out of commission when a new government came in place. But the idea being that with the Show Me button, they would click over and go to the rebate programs Energy Efficiency Alberta had in place. This now takes our clients, just directs them to some Natural Resources Canada information links. One of the things that we can do with this is all customizable. If you want to ask your clients some specific information about their home, we can do a short survey of questions. If you want to direct them to programs or education links, that's all stuff that's customizable, as I mentioned. Just to touch a little bit on our click-through rates, just to give you kind of an indication of the success that we have with our click-through rates. If you compare something to, say, Instagram, where you see an ad on Instagram and there's a Learn More button, the typical click-through rate for something like that is 1 to 2% of people will click through to learn more. On our Learn More or Show Me buttons, we have click-through rates of over 35%, which really speaks to the power of the imagery and the fact that people are impacted by it and are looking to make change. I'll just go back to the map, and I'd like to point out, one of the things when we talk in particular to utility clients, and not to say that our platform is only attractive or usable by utility clients, but in North America, that's typically who we're dealing with, typically who have the programs to engage with homeowners. But we do have entities that are using the platform for other purposes that we can discuss individually with organizations as well. But I wanted to show you one of the things when we typically talk to utilities, one of the things that when we ask them how they're targeting and figuring out who to target for their programs, especially for weatherization programs, their answer is typically that they're targeting older homes with high energy use. And by and large, I think that's been fairly successful. But one of the things that we like to point out with our platform is these 3 communities in Calgary have been built within the last 10 years. And what's really fascinating to look at them, even from, call it a 35,000 foot level, when you look at this community of Silverado, overall, it's a fairly efficient community. There's a lot of green homes at a high level, and you can see pockets of red. I like to say that I think that those ones were completed on a Friday afternoon when the crew just wanted to get away for the weekend. But you look at this overall, it's fairly efficient. You go across this Highway 22X and you look at these 2 communities, which were built in a similar time frame, and you see a lot of red and orange, which shows that there's some inefficiency among even these newer buildings. So it's very important that from an energy efficiency standpoint, if we're looking to improve building housing stock, that we focus on, we don't just focus on older homes, that there is opportunity to get some energy savings, to get some CO2 reductions, fossil fuel reduction use by looking at some of the newer communities that might have been built when maybe building standards were different, or as this might point out, that not all home builders are created equally. Let's just take you to our what we call our partnership dashboard. So this is kind of specific to our utility clients, and this is something that John alluded to, the ability to bring on some additional data into the platform for the purposes of having the best available data to access customers. So what we can do, particularly in the US market, is we can break things out by census block. So we'll click on this census block here, and we'll zoom down, and you can see within this particular census block, we can split out how many homes and the distribution of them within. So in this particular one, there's 666 homes in this particular census block, and this breaks out the MyHEAT distribution of heat ratings within that census block. And we also have information like the population breakdown within that area, how it breaks down by age, the year built of the homes, the average values of the homes spread out across the community, and then the income. So if you're looking to target specific groups that are income-based or age-based, really great information, and any other incremental information that you might want to bring into the platform, we can look to add that as well. So with that, I think we'll go back to the presentation. I'll let John continue on.
Yeah, so just to recap some of the benefits of the MyHEAT platform. So as Ian did mention, for both the customer and utility facing platforms, these will be white labeled to meet your specific branding guidelines. But additionally, along that, we can start to promote some of the programs and services that you're offering to your customers, as well as any additional applications such as online marketplaces you may have. Again, the partnership dashboard, the key thing, again, my time at Enbridge, as much as I truly believe the imagery is a game changer in terms of how you can engage customers, but the data also lends itself tremendously towards identifying those customers who first off have higher energy savings potential, but then also customers who might have the highest propensity to participate in programs as well. As Ian also showed you, in specific communities like the Silverado community, when you're looking at energy potential studying or modeling, or even using that as to establish targets, you can start to utilize the data and the imagery to help establish those targets with a better level of certainty than the typical regulated process to establish what energy savings could be on the residential side. We can help utilities on the marketing side, whether or not they have an in-house team. We can certainly help them with some of the best practices and learnings we have with some of the utility clients we've worked with across North America, or in some cases, we can actually deliver the marketing on their behalf. So regardless of any utilities that start off with us, we will work with them to ensure the marketing and the messaging will get the best results for them. And again, we'll design direct links back to the incentive programs as well. And then you can also gain additional heat loss and insights based upon the user information as they engage with their platform and jump on and off at various points of that. We can certainly re-engage customers at various points through that customer journey to make sure that they're participating in the program as well. What we've seen customers use it as, certainly on printed monthly bills, bill inserts as well, whether paper copy or electronic copies. We'll see utilities use that. Certainly on the whole digital social side of things, the imagery is really powerful in terms of trying to drive engagement. And even at trade shows and events, we can download the information onto computers during these events. So as your employees are pulling in potential clients, you can actually show them their homes during potential trade shows or community events to actually help engage customers as well. From an implementation standpoint, from the time we contract with a customer, we can do the data collection, get our plane down there, calibrate the cameras, and do the data collection, process the imagery, and get a platform up and running with a period of within 3 months from data collection. We'll handle all the platform development, very little input from your teams, and then no additional cost. In some cases, we are seeing utilities who are looking at trying to integrate MyHEAT into the My Account application. So actually where clients can go in and see additional information, MyHEAT information could be embedded within the utilities platform, or we could do it as a standalone platform as well. So we're going to stop there and pause. Any questions that our listeners today may have? Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to pass it over to, we referenced a couple different points on the behavioral pilot that our federal government had completed with a couple academic partners, and I'll pass it back over to Ian to complete this final stage of the presentation. We do have one question around commercial buildings, and we do collect commercial buildings imagery. And we have not yet processed the data. We do believe in certain segments of the marketplace there could be an application. Certainly within multi-residential buildings, I think the imagery loses its impact as a result of just due to the nature of the design of the building. But if you're dealing with specific sectors, say schools, which typically would be 2 stories, we do believe the imagery could start to lend benefit towards certain segments of the marketplace. Long-term care might be another sector of the marketplace where we could process and to get some insights in terms of that as well.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. When we do a data collection of a city, because we're doing kind of a north-south flight line or an east-west flight line, we're covering the entire city when we do the data collection. So we do collect all of the raw thermal data for any commercial or light industrial buildings that would be within that data set. As John mentioned, we typically are delivering more of a residential platform to our clients. However, we can process and look at that raw thermal data and do the pseudocolorized image for the commercial buildings, and it still would be a beneficial application for addressing the buildings and going to the building owners. Any other questions before we move on? I'll just wait a minute, because if you type at my speed, it probably takes you a bit to type your questions. So we do have a question asking if we can compare our product to other companies using a more traditional way of collecting data for residential customers. Would you be wondering, is that question particular to like more of a traditional consumption comparison on the residential side, something similar to an O-Power? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah, that's the answer responded back was yes. So actually I'll touch on that in this behavioral pilot program that I'm going to discuss in a minute here. And then we have a question asked, do you have any municipal clients who want to reduce their GHG emissions? And absolutely, yes, that is something that we do frequently get asked. When you look at the ability to reduce consumption on energy, whether it's natural gas driven or electrically driven, certainly reducing the consumption from the homes would have a direct correlation to reduction in GHG emissions. So with that, I'll talk a little bit about our pilot project that we completed over calendar 2018. And this was sponsored by a federal organization in Canada called Natural Resources Canada. And a couple of the goals going into the pilot was, one, they wanted us to provide a personalized engagement platform. So similar to the question that we had there on the traditional consumption comparison, having something to engage homeowners on energy efficiency. With the idea being that we'd be looking to target those hard to reach customers or consumers, those being the ones that maybe aren't aware of energy efficiency or don't think about energy efficiency, and really the aim to drive behavioral change and to get boosted program participation on the energy efficiency side of things. And as just asked there on the GHG side of things, look to reduce emissions. So going into the pilot, we were looking to have that, the objective was really to measure that behavioral response to the visual data. The city that was chosen was a location in southern Alberta that you can see there on the image in the middle, a city called the City of Medicine Hat, which has a population of about 63,000. City of Medicine Hat was unique in that it owns its own natural gas and electric utility. So they were a perfect one for being able to provide some historic consumption data to the project. And the project included, as I mentioned, Natural Resources Canada as a sponsor, MyHEAT as that behavioral platform. And then critically, there were 2 academic partners that were part of the project from the Universities of Carleton and the Universities of Ottawa, both universities out in Eastern Canada, in Ontario. And it was really those academic partners that were key to running this randomized control study and being the ones to analyze all of the data and to ultimately publish a third-party validated report, which they they issued in early November of 2019. So the randomized control study that the academic partners set up, they split the town, or the city, I should say, of Medicine Hat into 3 different groups. There's about 4,700 homes per group, and prior to providing the treatment on the groups, they made sure that the MyHEAT distribution of the heat ratings, so that 1 to 10 rating system that we talked about, that there was a good random selection in all of the groups, so that each group had a good selection of the 1 through the 10s. They made sure that the average energy consumption on the gas and electric side of the groups was almost identical, and that the average square footage of the homes of the buildings were almost identical. There's 2 treatments that happened. Number 1 was the MyHEAT group. So the homeowners in the MyHEAT group received the MyHEAT heat rating from 1 to 10, showing what their heat rating was, how they compared to the neighborhood they lived in, and how they compared to the city of Medicine Hat. And then they saw the thermal image of their home. The second group received more of a traditional consumption comparison. So info showing this is how your energy consumption compares to homes of a similar size in the immediate area, with some historic consumption information. And the control group was the group that received no information. A couple of things that are important to point out. For groups 1 and group 2, the MyHEAT group and the traditional consumption group, though that information was printed on the energy bill 4 times during the year, so February, March, and April, and November, so kind of cooling months. This messaging was sent out to these homeowners, and different messages were applied to each of the send-outs for the groups. But it's important to note that for group 1 and group 2, that information was printed on the 4th page of the energy bill. So there was a message at the top of on the front page of the energy bill saying, if you'd like to save $100 or something like that on your energy bill, see page 4. And there was no other marketing outreach that was done during the program. And there was information that allowed them to access programs with Energy Efficiency Alberta on the rebate side of things. So some really exciting things that came out of the project. When you compare the MyHEAT group 1 to the control group, which was really what we were trying to see, was what the academic partners were trying to see is like showing the MyHEAT group to that control group, what is the difference in participation. And on the MyHEAT group, they had a 25% higher participation in weatherization rebate programs. So these were people that actively saw the image of their home, and it led them to participating in weatherization programs through Energy Efficiency Alberta. Furthermore, there was an incremental 17% online rebate applications and upgrades done by the MyHEAT group compared to the control group. So these might have been homeowners that maybe couldn't afford to do a larger weatherization program, but they still went and participated in the online rebate program. So it really speaks to the power of the imagery and the fact that it is driving people to participating in energy efficiency related programs. Taking a closer look at the success of the program, when we looked at targeting the groups that are the 7s to 10s, so the highest consumption homes, and we added that with a message saying that they could save $100 annually, the academic partners saw a 7.5 reduction in consumption from those homeowners. So a significant impact from those high consumption homes, seeing and adding that messaging that they can save $100, seeing some great reduction in consumption numbers. Just to compare that previous slide, to compare that to the traditional consumption comparison, when the 6 through 10s were shown that they could save $150, across the board, so 6 through that MyHEAT rating, 6 through 10s, compared to the traditional consumption comparison, the traditional consumption group had a reduction in consumption of about 1.8%, which I think is right around bang average with what a traditional consumption comparison gets. And the MyHEAT group saw a reduction in consumption of 3.9%, so a little over twice what the traditional consumption comparison was asking. And I think one of our listeners had asked that question earlier, so that sort of points that question out. And actually this graph here that John had showed earlier, where it showed the traditional HERs, the time to use pricing, and the energy use alerts, just sliding in that MyHEAT 7 to 10s and that 7.5 reduction in consumption. That gives you an idea of where we sit on the energy saving side with the power of the imagery. And just going back to that slide that John showed, where we were showing what that equivalent meant when you're applying the impacts to reduction in consumption, what that means to numbers of homes per year as far as volume. And you see where that 7.5% reduction in consumption comes on the MyHEAT side of things. And it's really important to note that the time of use pricing and the challenge with the first three is really getting that sustained reduction in consumption. As John has mentioned, with the time to use in the real time, these are really focused on managing load at specific times, where it doesn't really lead to a sustained reduction in consumption, or with what our imagery is trying to do is really push people towards making significant retrofits to their home to really make a lasting impression on reduction in consumption. Some of the things that we learned from the Medicine Hat project that were really key, great things to take away was the optimization of the imagery. So having that ability to print the image on the bill was really powerful. Having said that, if we could have printed that image on the front page or the first page of the energy bill, we think that could even have a bigger impact. Certainly with the reputation and the brand that utilities have, having something like that printed on the front page of the energy bill has a real strong impact and really brings credibility to the product and the platform. There was a boomerang effect in place, which was really fascinating. So in Medicine Hat, what we found was with the more efficient homes, so call them the 1s, 2s, and 3s, when they saw through the imagery that they had efficient homes, we actually saw an increase in consumption from those homes. So really important information for us to learn for our future projects and determine, how do we message that group? Do we message that group? So great information to be able to talk to our clients to see how we want to address the more efficient homes in the data set. Certainly the time of year on when you engage homeowners is really critical. We've had projects where our clients have tried to engage homeowners in the summer, which isn't really the greatest when you're trying to engage people on the efficiency of their home and their high energy bill. Summer months when kids are out of school and people are doing vacations, the last thing that's kind of on people's mind is kind of the efficiency of their home. Targeting them during the winter, during the high bill months has proved to be much more effective. And we've really found that our heat ratings are a very useful predictor of not only the efficiency of the home, but through that project, there was, because the academic partners were provided with 3 years of consumption data, they were able to do some analysis. They were provided with also additionally from the City of Medicine Hat, the square footage of the homes, the age of the homes, and they had the MyHEAT heat rating for all of the homes. And they took all of that data and they did some analysis. And what they found was a correlation in consumption to our heat rating. So as a home became less efficient from our 1 to 10 scale, each marker equated to an incremental electricity consumption of 1.5% and gas consumption of 3.5%. So in other words, if John and I are neighbors and we have similar size homes built in a similar time frame, John's house is rated at 5 and my house is rated at 6, so my house is less efficient than him, I'd be consuming 1.5% more electricity than him and 3.5% more gas than him. On the extreme scale of John's home is a 1 and mine's a 10, annually I'm 15% more electricity and 35% more gas. So the significance of that, if you think back to the platform when I was zooming into those communities and you saw all those homes of the varying colors, if you had an income eligible community that you wanted to focus on, we could do some modeling of energy savings potential, saying if we were to, if we just pretend that screenshot we were looking at the time was an income eligible community, we'd be able to model the energy savings potential for that community if we were to retrofit the higher rated homes to more efficient homes. And then obviously we found that behavioral nudging really plays a role. Showing people something very specific to them, very personal to them, being the thermal attribute of their home, really played a role in the results of that project. There's a UK study that came out a few years ago, and this was specific to kind of the handheld thermal gun when people would go through a home, but people were 5 times more likely to act on doing something on the energy efficiency side if they saw a thermal image of their home. And just some final thoughts on the behavioral project, and these kind of come from the paper that the academic partners put together. They found that visualizing that heat loss achieves the goal of getting those energy savings. So that's what we really want to achieve. We found that combining that imagery with estimated cost savings was the most effective messaging for homeowners. So showing the image and showing they can save money was kind of the perfect combination, the perfect storm for getting people to participate. And that the results for this particular project were significant given the area that it's in. The city of Medicine Hat is a pretty traditional, conservative city. It's very tied to the historic natural gas and oil community. So it's actually exceptional results, and this is coming from the academic partners. These are exceptional results in a community that typically doesn't have an energy efficiency focus. If it was a more liberal community, we'd actually expect to see even better results from that project. And with that, we'll see if we have any additional questions. So we have a question asking, was the 7.5% reduction in consumption purely behavioral? If not, what portion is attributed to insulation or hard measures? Great question, Amy, thank you for your question. The academic partners are actually continuing to evaluate the information, and they have been provided all of that data from Energy Efficiency Alberta, and we will see the results of that in the coming months to see how that distribution is. So we have a question with regards to seasonality. Can this be inverted? In hotter climates, can you see things in thermal imaging during the summer that would indicate people who need to insulate upgrade to AC? Another great question. We've actively been working with some utilities in the southern climates in the U.S. As south as kind of the middle part of Texas. They're sort of getting into the Austin, Texas area. And really the key thing for us is if we can do a data, like ideally from a standpoint of doing a data collection on the thermal side for the building envelope, to the extent that we can target some winter days. So for example, Austin, Texas, get some cool days where you can get into the low 40s. Those are actually optimal conditions for us to do a data collection where we're going to get the thermal attribute of the home, and we will be able to see what's happening with the building envelope. So addressing the weatherization aspects of those homes would fit, whether it's with regards to the heating of the home or the cooling of the home. Having said that, we are very interested in partnering with a forward-thinking utility that would be look to do a pilot program by doing a data collection in the summer as well. But we do know with the precision of our sensor, just to touch a little bit on that, the sensor itself weighs about 20 kilos or 50 pounds. It's not very big, but it's a very precise instrument. Our data collection that we do is sub 1 meter per pixel, or sub just over a yard per pixel. So it's a very, very high resolution that we collect. We have a temperature accuracy that gets down into 1/100 of a degree centigrade, which would be pretty similar on the Fahrenheit side when you're getting to that kind of specific measurement. So very high resolution and very high temperature measurement. So we'd be very keen to look at a summer data collection, but for the cooler or the hotter climates, we can do a data collection in many areas in your winter to get the same effect. With that, I don't think there's any more. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to hear our webinar. And if you have any questions, I think John and I's information is available. So definitely reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk about your specific needs. So thanks again for joining.